Yo, I tell you what I want, what I really, really want. So tell me what you want, what you really, really want. I wanna really wanna. So it's like, yeah, if you wanna be my lover, you gotta get with my friend, mama, and it never ends. If you wanna be my lover, you have got to get, and it's too easy, but that's the way it is. So what you think about that? Yeah, guys. Welcome to the Precipice of Delusion. I am your host, Julian Gavilanis. Welcome to my space. Check it out in here, guys. It looks sweet, doesn't it? I've been really working on it. What do you think about my mustache if you're tuning in on the YouTube, huh? Check out this facial hair. It's about the longest I've had it since the pandemic. Doesn't fill in great, but you know what? I'm trying my goddamn best. I'm pushing 40 and I got about 86 chintzy hairs on my face. But, you got to start somewhere. Hey guys, thanks for being here. How you feeling? You doing all right? I miss you. Yeah, you. How are you? Are you feeling nice? Are you feeling swell? Guys, I'm getting a lot of suggestions in from a lot of people, and I'm just trying to figure out how to engage better. So, in full transparency, I batched a lot of these episodes and then started just like putting them out quickly. So, I didn't really like learn how to have a conversation until I started just doing it. And so I feel like I'm slowly getting better at them now. And I'm not sure that this episode is a perfect indication of that. I hope so, just because I feel like it's just a good conversation with the pal. But regardless, I think the farther I get into these conversations, the more I'm kind of learning how to have a little bit more banter, be a little bit more quippy, have a little bit more fun. I know some of these conversations can get a little like, deep and emotional, and I don't want that to only be the thing. And I definitely don't want it to feel like I'm just complaining or something, like, oh, what are you doing? You're not as famous as you thought you were going to be, like that's not what I'm hoping to have this podcast be about. I haven't had anybody say that is the case. That's probably just my own projection of the fear that I have associated to what I think other people might, be taking away from this. But ultimately, I want this to have a variety of comedy and funniness and emotional charged talks and sad stuff, happy stuff everywhere, and I just want it to be real. I just want it to be genuine, and I don't want to, have any like censored thoughts on what we're talking about. I think it's a safe space here, and if you guys are safe to be our listeners, then we feel compelled to go there. And I think that's a real privilege of where we're at in 2024, and the ability to just put stuff out into the airwaves and let people listen to it. We all have a voice, my friends. We all have a voice, and we all get the right to say and do whatever the hell we want. Sometimes we probably shouldn't, but sometimes we need a little bit more of it. So I'm trying to just do my little part over here in this little tiny corner of the internet to bring to you some thoughtful and insightful conversations that, might be of service to you, might help you out a little bit, or just might make you smile. Who knows? I'm very happy to be here today, to be continuing to do this. And my guest today is one of my closest friends. She is an incredible human being. She is Elise Finnerty. Let me take that back. She is Elise Finnerty. Elise Finnerty is a woman that I met when I started my acting training here in the city at a place called the Terry Schreiber Studio. I met her along with a group of other friends that I have kind of built my community around out here in New York ever since getting to know them. She is an actress, a filmmaker, a writer extraordinaire, just a badass. She's a businesswoman, and she has her finger on the pulse of a lot of the stuff going on in this marketplace. And she has been making some really, really wonderful projects in the independent film scene lately. A movie called uh, The Ones You Didn't Burn. Sorry, Elise. I almost forgot. It's incredible. She's an incredible talent. I'm very honored to know her. Elise and I have been friends for, I'd say, probably like close to a decade at this point. And she always brings me up. She always kind of makes me feel better about myself. And I feel like a little bit of her older brother at this point. It's only because I'm older than her, not because I'm like more mature or anything. But we have that kind of like friendship dynamic, and it's fun. You know, we can pick on each other and also be like really sweet to each other, and it's one of those really nice relationships. But she is definitely like enmeshed in this culture of being an artist, and she definitely has a strong point of view about it, and we talk about it, we get into it. But I'm just excited for you guys to get to know her because she's very close to me, and I think she has a really cool perspective on things. And she has pivoted into filmmaking as a response to not feeling like she was being seen enough as an actor. And I think that's something that I'm kind of doing right now as well. And so a lot of my motives have been influenced by hers without question. And so I'm really proud of her, and I'm really inspired by the woman she is. And I'm really excited for you guys all to get to know her. So please, ladies and gentlemen, do me the pleasure of introducing my very good friend, Elise Finnerty. Yeah, look at me. We're fucking becoming seriously successful podcasters now, Elise.
You're like such a podcaster, Julian. It's so funny to me. Like just
Yeah.
the hat, like the little hair.
You like my little hair?
Yeah, the little hair right in
Do I
front.
look sweet? You look nice.
Do I did a little curly vibe, but I
You're
wish I
looking
could
great.
wear my background because this is so ugly, but whatever.
You're looking great. Yeah, I was funny.
Hey.
I laughed at you because you were like, "God, is this going to be on video? I got to get ready." I was like, "It's fucking noon. We're going to get on at 3 p.m., dude. Take your time." Fucking freaking out about it.
I know. It's
It's
just
also
like
like I genuinely don't want to do like I don't want people to feel like the pressure of having to look a certain way because I really want this to be like as open of a conversation as possible, and I don't want people to because even for me, like I'm very self conscious of the way that I look. Like
no, it's not
I'm a
that.
little dwindle.
It was literally like I had my first Zoom call this morning and I just rolled out of bed for it because I was just, it was with my colleague who's seen me in all different looks. But,
Yeah,
and I didn't care if it was just you and me, but I'm like, oh, if this is going to go somewhere public, I should probably look decent, which
yeah,
I'm realizing now I don't. So,
yeah. Well, you have the good fortune and the bad fortune of being one of the first people on this podcast, and so it's not really. I mean, it. Hopefully the goal will be that it will go somewhere,
I think
but
it will.
ultimately, I'll turn this stuff into like little clips and stuff, and I'll put it on YouTube, and I have like a nice little um, way to create some production value for this thing that I've been learning through the editing software and stuff. So,
Cool.
yeah, it's
Well,
cool
next step will be, in person and we'll be like, Huberman sitting
for
across from
sure.
each other.
I wanted to do this in person in the beginning, just because like that it just feels so much better, and I probably could do that. I'd have to rearrange my space. And I think I might, but it's also
Totally
harder
could.
for sure. And I want to like I just want to have like two chairs and us sitting together and just chatting and catching shooting shit. But
Definitely.
but yeah, thank you for being here. Thanks for coming and being
Yeah.
my friend and being willing to
Full-time
be
job.
on my potty. It's awesome.
I'm
I was
always down for your
asking
potty.
or I was saying that you looked good in the very beginning, and then I realized really immediately like I wonder like nobody says that to me when I get on.
I
Like
said it
nobody.
to you. I said you looked very podcasty.
I'm not saying it specifically to me. Like I guess like I don't. Well, maybe I do. Maybe I say that to guys, but I guess like with
Oh, you were.
women, I like it's so much more of a conditioned thing to like jump at and be like, you
Yeah.
look great. Um, fuck it, let's just jump right in. Like, what does that like? How much how much do you think navigating like your career and being a woman? Obviously, it's the only reference point you have being a woman, but you're
Yeah.
also like an attractive woman. You're very tall. You're like a striking person to just like be in the space of. Um, like, what do you think are like really great qualities and really shitty qualities about that for you as you navigate being an artist in this business?
Oh my God, that's such a weighted question. Well, first of
Yeah,
all,
for sure.
I was like, it's so weird. I kind of guessed that this would topic might come up because I was like, oh, I think I'll wear my hair curly for this. And anytime I wear my hair curly, someone's like, oh, you have curly hair. And then I was thinking if Julian brings that up, I'm gonna try and make it about gender and get him canceled. Say that
Try.
about
Fuck.
the men.
Yeah.
Julian, fuck you. But yeah, no, and I was like, that's so funny that this is exactly what I walked myself into. But
Yeah.
I mean, I think there's so many layers to that question, honestly. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think physical appearance, because you and I both started as actors, it's just such a thing that we have to be aware of as using our bodies as our instrument, not only
Mhm.
our how we look, but our voice and even like our aura, our energy, what we give off when we walk into a room. So I feel like as an actor pursuing that, I realized pretty quick that I don't fit into a lot of roles. You know what I mean? And although I'm still praying for Marvel because I feel like they like redheads. And
Your
like,
time is coming, girl.
I mean, come on, Marvel, like, let's go.
Come on,
And
Marvel.
6 feet.
I got a lot of clout here on this podcast,
Yeah,
so
I
they're
know,
probably
right?
listening.
I know, hint, hint. Let's tag them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think as like a boss, as a director, being a woman is super interesting. I'm like trying not to say the wrong thing, but
Don't worry, dude. Like nobody's listening to this at this point, anyways. And honestly, if you say the wrong
yeah,
thing, like we can cut whatever. Just fucking
that's
say
true.
it. Like
That's true.
I want this to be so candid. And
Oh
please,
my
like
God.
don't worry. We're not gonna get canceled, dude. We're not. Nobody cares about us enough to cancel us. We wish we
Not
could be
yet,
canceled. We
Julian.
wish we could be canceled. We wish we were fucking worthwhile
One
enough
is
to be
canceled.
canceled.
No, I know. You're right. You're right. Like, who the fuck cares?
Yeah,
No,
don't worry about what you say, please. Just I mean,
I mean,
whatever.
I think like it's just okay. This is for some reason this just popped into my head. But and I might have told you this before, but I remember when I was shooting my feature with our friend Nathan, and I can't believe I'm gonna tell this story. So technically, I was the boss of that film, right? Because I was like the director and the writer
Yeah,
and the producer or whatever.
right.
Um, and I also acted in it. So Nathan and I had a scene together, and there was like this sexual chemistry that we had going on in the scene. And as actors, sometimes your actor brain gets caught up with your real brain, and you're like, is this real? And like blah 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 blah. And I remember catching myself in that moment being like, you can't act on any kind of feeling because you are running this set and you are in a position of power, which is, not that common for women. And that would just be wrong. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's like, it just reminds me of all the times that men have been in positions of power and have acted on it. You know what I mean?
I mean, did you want to act on it and you had to like suppress that impulse?
No, it wasn't so much that. It was more of me like just being super in my head about like, okay, we're having like a sexual chemistry type of feeling for the scene, right? And if I maybe wasn't as good of a actor, well, not as good as an actor, if I wasn't as seasoned of an actor, maybe I would be like, ooh, these feelings mean something. And ooh, maybe I should like flirt with Nathan or,
Mhm.
see if there's something there. Um, Knowing myself and knowing the boundaries and stuff of like actor brain and real brain, I knew that wasn't real, but it just got this interesting thought in my head, like if I didn't know that and I wanted to act on that, how wrong that would be for the situation that we were in.
Hmm.
But then I was, of course, thinking like, but as a woman, am I in power? Like, even though I am, I don't know. Do you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
for sure. I mean, it's interesting because like if you were to have acted on that impulse, like I think it probably would have been inappropriate, right? No matter who you are.
100%.
But also like it would being received from a man from a woman being the recipient as a man, getting it from a woman is a completely different context
I
than the
know,
roles reversed.
right?
And but it's also not.
But it's also not.
It's also not. And so like that's the thing we have to navigate because we are so conditioned to first of all like being aware of like the male dominance in this
Mhm.
arena and like that being more of like a stronghold on like the women's experience than it is on the man's. However, like I've had those same experiences happen from both men and women, like onto me,
Mhm.
and they don't like they're always wrong. It's like, oh well, women don't have like as much physical ability to like fight back or something. It's just like, well, it's fucking semantics. Like it's all fucking all over the place. But
Absolutely.
I feel like, you obviously are able to discern in that moment, like, this isn't the right move for me because you're a professional. And so you didn't do that. But, and also, like, Nathan's close enough of our friend who was co starring with you in that
Yeah, I mean,
movie
I've
to
told
where,
him
like,
this at this
if you
point.
would have, like, done something, he probably would have just, like, fucking slapped you in the face or something. And
I
it's like,
know,
I'm going to
I know.
shut up, Elise.
Or,
Um,
or he would have felt a pressure
mm,
as somebody who was technically, quote unquote, working for me to not reject me
yeah.
and therefore lose his standing in
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which I got to say I felt as a woman being in the position when somebody, a man who's been above me, has crossed the line, like flirtation wise. It's not like a
Yeah.
full blown sexual harassment, but it's definitely. And I have this like fear of, oh, I don't want to reject him or, make it seem like I'm not cool or fun and I'm
Mm,
taking it too
mm,
seriously.
mm.
And then all of a sudden, like, he has the power to kind of shift the energy of, the
Yeah.
situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting because, we
Mm.
share a friend. I don't know. Well, yeah, I mean, we share a peer in this girl, Ryan Steele.
Mm.
She
Oh
went
yeah, I
to
love Ryan.
the Terry Schreiber school with us. And her and I were having a conversation one day about just being actors. And this pertains to where we're at too, just not only as actors, but filmmakers as well. And just people in this business, in the orbit of this world that we're in. And I was just kind of like comparing myself to her and her. We were both kind of just like expressing our experiences about like the audition cycle and all this bullshit. And pretty quickly we realized there's no point in doing this at all because our experiences are so uniquely different. Just
Mhm.
not because one, she's a woman, two, she's black,
Mhm.
three, she's just like British. Like there's so many different things, but like mostly just because like
And
she's
now she's
actually
a
a
mother,
woman and now
by the
she's a
way.
mother,
Mhm.
right? But like it dawned on me quickly that like, oh man, like we're almost in different industries. Like you're having a completely different experience than I am. And that's not to say one's better than the other. They're just, and she works a lot. And it's just like, you're just going through this in a completely different way than I am. So there's no point for me to even sit here and subject myself to like the idea that we might have anything in common here. Like we are actors and that's literally it. Like we just are both
No, but
actors.
Julian, I think you guys have stuff in common. You've told me stories about situations that you've been in that were like you felt powerless and somebody was, making you uncomfortable in power and that kind of thing.
Sure, but it's not even just in about that. It's not even about like the gender dynamics in like this industry. It's just about like I'm a guy, you're a girl, like we're just having different experiences. It's
Right.
like we're hopeful that like we're moving in the direction of having this industry be like an equal playing field for all of us, but it's not. Like the reality is that it's not. And
Yeah.
your experience as a filmmaker, like you're going to Berlin like last month, and you're going around doing like these film festivals circuits and doing all sorts of like shopping films and networking events and stuff all over the world. And again, like, back to the original question, like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, 27-year-old woman, and like, you are a tall, beautiful, woman who's like young and like where you are, you're in your prime of your life, in your career even, and I don't know what that's like. I only know what my experience is like. I'm also not doing the same things as you're doing, and I wonder like on like there can be a lot of, I'm sure you can kind of trick your way into getting what you want kind of through that privilege that you have of being that woman in the space that you're in. But I'm sure it has a shadow cast on the same situation. And I'm curious, like, what is like the hardest part of it for you when you navigate that? Because you're a pretty like self-aware person at the same
Mhm.
time. And
Yes and no. I mean, I literally, as you're complimenting me, I just want to self-deprecate myself. I'm like,
that
hope
self-awareness,
anyone
though, in
that's
my
listening to
opinion,
this doesn't Google Google me.
that's self-awareness in and of itself, though, to self-deprecate, though, because you're
That's
trying
funny.
to like dumb it down. I do the same thing. It's just like you don't want to receive that because you don't know how to take it. And when in reality, it's true. If you were just like, "Yep, I am hot," it would be like well, I was just saying it because you're actually really ugly, and I was trying to give you some self-esteem.
Right.
So it's
Thanks.
fine.
No,
Um,
I mean, if you're asking like my awareness, I feel like so I'm 31 and a half, and I think it's pretty much just now I become more aware of like the advantages, but also disadvantages. I think, yeah, being a woman in this business, but I would say being an attractive woman, from your words, not mine.
relax.
Okay. I think that it it helps get the initial, what I've noticed. This is what I've noticed, especially in like networking types of things. I think being an attractive woman, like in life, we talk about pretty privilege, right? Maybe it helps get that initial um, intro or greet or attention from somebody important in the room or whatever. But it's usually pretty quick and short lived. And after that, I would say it slips into a disadvantage because it's like, uh, it's a lot of this industry is run by like older white men, straight men, and they unfortunately still don't see women as having like an equal value in this
Yeah.
industry as bosses. You know what I mean? And I
Mhm.
think I've caught myself, and I'm trying to do it less of like kind of not owning my presence or owning my stature or just my intelligence or my all these other positive qualities that are more masculine, I guess, societal wise. And because I'm like scared to scare someone off or come off too strong or something, and then I establish this like not true to myself type of aura, and it gets me in initially, but then it ends up working against me in the long
Mhm.
run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I have like a couple examples of that. I mean, I would say like,
Give us a
well,
scoop.
yeah, I mean, one example is so one of my good friends, and he's a producer, Nico Alvo. He was a producer in my last film, and we went to Cannes together. And he was like, we kind of realized pretty quick that it almost felt like, and I was with my other partner at the time too, who's also a woman, and it felt like as women we could get the attention, and then Nico could almost like slide in and take the seriousness of the conversation from
Mm.
there. I
Mhm.
know that sounds fucked up, but it's kind of
That's no,
like
I mean, it sounds accurate,
what was
unfortunately.
happening. I mean, there was this big producer. We went to the Triangle of Sadness party in Cannes, after party. We like snuck in, by the way. We're not cool enough
Mhm.
to get an invite. Or maybe Nico
Touch
did. I don't
did you
know.
did you touch tips with Steve Zahn?
No, I didn't touch tips with
You
anyone.
wuss.
I wish. But there was a big producer there, right? He was like hanging on the couch with Woody Harrelson, and he's an older guy, probably like in his later 70s. And he clocked me and was like, hey, something. And he didn't say toots, but something along those lines. And he was like, come here. And we were talking for a second. And Nico was with me, and Nico came along. And then he was kind of just, for lack of a better phrase, he was just hitting on me. You know what I mean? And but Nico was kind of there to talk. We were there to talk about projects and talk about business. And then Nico was like, okay, well, it'd be great to talk to you again. He's like, yeah, bring your long-legged friend or something like that. And it was just this weird, like, yeah, we got the meeting with this big producer, but at what cost? And,
Mhm.
you know, would I be taken seriously in that meeting? I don't know. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
I mean, I do because you're telling me it, but I don't because I have never like really been in that position, and
mhm,
it sounds more and more common. And I understand it from like a position of knowing those stories, but it never like you never get used to hearing that kind of thing because it's
my
just
God,
like where are like why do these people have positions of power? Like how did they get to that place
don't
of
even
their
get me started on
yeah,
that.
it's very interesting. It's just like they like lack a level of empathy, and they almost have like a sense of immaturity because nobody's ever like pushed back on them, and it just like they've gotten themselves that far because they haven't been subjected to pushback from
Yeah,
anybody, and they just and they step on top of people, and they don't have that like that sense of self. And I'm speaking generally of people in like high position powers, primarily men. um but it is insane because like when you really look at that objectively and you hear that, like, hey, bring your long-legged friends that I just called toots a couple minutes ago and
yeah,
see
I
like
know.
I'm fucking maybe we can cook some steaks up and fucking sit in the hot it's just like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, we're trying to pitch a movie and like see if you can work with us. We're trying to create working relationships with you. And the worst part about it is that like you probably, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, are just like, okay, like we're still going to take this meeting, but we have to figure out how we're going to
I
navigate this
know.
now, like
I know.
this aspect of this relationship. Because, and like, you probably have to get pretty specific as to like how you're going to go about it. Like, okay, let's strategize because like we know this now. We know
Yeah,
this. So then this is how we have to treat this
definitely.
in protection of ourselves and
I mean,
protection of
this
you,
happens. I can name 50 more examples
for
like that
sure.
would include or not include Nico. And I've had to figure that out too myself. And, I have girlfriends that I talk to. One of my best friends, she's also very tall and she's about to have a baby. Maxine, Maxine.
Yeah.
She's tall and beautiful and, in the business as an actor, but also as like a producer. And she's got such a boss ass bitch energy too. And
Hmm.
we've talked about this, and she's much firmer. Like she's very much like you need to right away establish your role and your place and make sure that people are seeing you in this way and not that way. Um and she's given me advice with certain things that some I take, some I don't. I don't know. Maybe it's a maturity thing. Maybe I need to get like I don't know, you know what I mean? Get more confident. Maybe I need that. And like, okay, I don't need to rely on like being charming, for lack of a better word,
Yeah, I
and
mean, I assume that it would probably just take trying to enforce that ability onto somebody and then getting their reaction from it, and then
mhm,
having them quite possibly give you more respect because of that.
mhm,
Because maybe the lane in for a lot of these people is like, oh, like they're, flirting back because they think they're supposed to, because they're conditioned to believe that if they do, they'll get what they want. So they play that game. But then anybody that like stops it in its tracks, they're like, oh, okay, I see who this person is. They're not playing that game. So like, yes, of course we're here to do this movie thing. So we're gonna do that instead.
oh, yeah.
And then
I
it
mean,
establishes it, and you're like, oh, cool. Like now my confidence is built in knowing that like I can stop it before it starts and move forward. And it just comes from practice, I'm sure. And you're practicing all the time.
yeah, and I would say as I've gotten older, I've done that more. I've gotten better at, like, drawing those lines earlier. I have to say, though, it's cut off a lot of relationships and,
Yeah.
I would say, like, Steven, my boyfriend, would say, "Well, those you don't wanna be involved with those people anyway."
Yeah. And it's
But
just
at
like,
the same time,
what?
like, a
Yeah,
lot of those people are,
that guy
you know
fucking, worked with this guy and this fucking thing. And yeah, for
Right,
for sure. It's
right.
it's very yeah, it's very nuanced and like a really
Very
difficult thing
nuanced.
to navigate. And I'm I
It's a
guess I'm just
tough way to throw me a hard ball. Right.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, this isn't about like this isn't about like being a woman or a man. It's just like you're the first woman I've had on
Oh,
this show so far. So I figured it was a good like talking point to just kind of ask like what the what your experience has been like thus far. And this isn't to be like, oh, like woe is you. You're like so traumatized by the things
no.
that have happened. Like you're killing it. You're doing great stuff. You're doing great work, and it's inspiring to see. And more than anything, I'm just kind of like, because typically I'm just trying to like relate my experience to other people and like ask questions that uh I'm selfishly like interested in knowing for myself. Like how do you stay in this when you're fucking so like tragically like hurt by the thing that you're pushing forward in so much, like
Oh,
what do
totally.
you do to keep yourself sane? And that's really where this kind of podcast is trying to live in the space of. But I did want to, just ask you about being a female in this position and where you're at with it all and the way you look. Like for the record, Elise is like 6'1", 6'2",
Yeah,
six
6'1".
nine,
Don't push it.
7'3".
6'7". I'm like,
She's fucking tall. We have a measuring thing on our door right outside my
oh yeah,
studio,
I remember
and
that.
we've all like stood on it and measured ourselves. And there's like one other person above Elise, and then like 30 people below
Who's
Elise,
above
including
me?
myself.
I'm gonna
This
know
guy
that.
Mihal, he's Rachel's my girlfriend's like best friend's husband.
Oh
And he's
wow.
like this
Okay.
Polish like 6'7" guy.
Oh
But
really?
somebody we had a friend over last night. He was like, "Who the fuck is this tall ass Elise?" And I was just like, "Yeah, that's Elise." Yeah, like it should be known that you are
That's
actually
hilarious.
like very tall.
I know.
Six
I
one.
feel like my height almost has been like more of a factor in my career than even being a, a woman. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It would be because it is like for me to be. I don't know. I always say I'm 6 foot, but I'm probably fucking like 5'11" and three
Side eye me.
quarters. Yeah,
I would say I'm 6 foot at least. Don't say shit.
don't fucking tell them the truth.
Yeah.
But yeah, like like guys are trying to be taller and like get I want to be like cooler and taller, and then like you're like the size of a relatively tall man, and that's like
I know.
it's striking. It's awesome though because it makes you unique. But I can imagine that it makes you self-conscious of like just everything around you, like you're taller than a lot of like the men in power that you're talking to, and that's like its own power dynamic in and of itself. And then the women are maybe intimidated by you as well, and it's just
No,
like
I feel
you
like
know
honestly, I've had such great experiences like with women, but I was just going back like that's what's so great about working with other women is that it feels like we don't have to put on something. You have to put other stuff on. I'm not saying women are like perfect, but
yeah
there is that relaxation that okay, you don't have to worry about coming off a certain way or not
yeah
a certain way or that kind of thing with working with women. But yeah, no, the height thing. I mean, Maxine, she's tall too. She's my height.
yeah
A lot of my friends are tall. It's
Yeah. I mean, even like the fact that I'm even talking to you about these things right now, like I'm not gonna
weird.
talk about to another guy about like, oh, you're fucking tall. He's like, let's talk about your fucking. It's just like, shut the fuck up, Julian. Why am
No,
I even
it's
bringing it
fine.
up? It's fine. I just wanted to acknowledge for the
Yeah,
listener that like
I acknowledge it.
when we talk about like you know you do have a very specific look, and it does definitely uh position you in the space that you're in, and it definitely like alters the experience for you based on
Sure.
like kind of where you're at and what you look like, which is I think ultimately a good thing, and I think you
Thanks,
should
Jewel.
take advantage of it.
I'm trying.
So let's dive into the show.
Yeah.
It's been we're going but kind of
Starting now.
starting now. We just pushed record. um what do you remember uh like your first memory of wanting to do like art professionally?
Oh wow.
Like
Um,
professionally, not just like oh, I
yeah,
was like, in fucking
first
Oklahoma in
grade.
4th grade.
Yeah, it's in the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Um, First memory. I would say, yeah. I mean, it was my senior year of college. I finally stepped out of like the athletic space now that we've established how tall I am. I was an athlete for school, recruited as a volleyball player.
Damn.
And then my senior year, I got hurt. So I couldn't play. So I took an acting class because I really did want to do that. And I think I just realized like that I was pretty good, just to kind of put that out there. I was pretty
Mm-hmm.
good. And I had just enough of an ego to think I could do it for a living.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we talk about this a lot. I really thought I was going to make it in like 2 years. I thought I was going to be
Mm.
fucking Jennifer Lawrence,
Yeah.
Emma Stone, like gonna
Mm-hmm.
kill it.
Yeah.
And, and I got to say too, I had a couple people, higher up people, or people like mentors tell me that. They were
Yeah.
like, not tell me that I was going to be successful, but tell me like, hey, if you're not getting a bite in like 3 years, you should probably quit. So I was like, oh, okay,
That's
well,
awful advice, but
isn't that
like
crazy?
the
Like looking
worst.
back, it's not even advice, and it's not even accurate.
I mean, it's encouraging on one hand, but it's just like really ignorant shit to say to somebody. Like even Jennifer Lawrence and Emma Stone took like, had their own time to like get there. There are
And like,
exceptions to the
what
rule
is
we
there
give.
even,
Yeah,
right? Because
exactly.
that we can start a whole conversation about that, but to me, I think there's no getting there or making it or like
Hmm.
what success is. And, not to be corny, but part of me is like, even this, like, you're one of my best friends hosting a podcast, talking to me about, wanting to talk to me about my career in this business. I mean, I feel like a few years ago that would be like, oh my God, one day, Julian, you and I will like be on a
Yeah.
podcast together, like
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about this shit and talking about
Yeah.
Nathan. And
Yeah.
here we are, even if no one listens to it.
Yeah. That's the
They will.
reality.
My parents will listen to it, at least.
Perfect. Yeah, it is interesting, and the kind of like the bar continues to get set along the way, and you don't really know it because you're in it, and like you decided. It sounds like you know for better or for worse, like in that moment where you like took that acting class, you were like, oh, I'm pretty good at this. You got like some positive feedback, and we're like,
Mhm.
oh, and you probably also just felt connected to the work, and we're like, oh, this makes sense because I felt that too. The first time I ever took an acting class, um, I I remember being like my fucking brain exploded, and I was
Oh
like,
my God, yeah.
holy shit. Like this is a thing. Like
Yeah.
I know I've seen movies, I've seen like TV shows, I've seen acting be done, but I've never like gotten involved in it in this capacity. I've never attempted it like this. And man, I was like blown out of the water because it was all stuff that made so much sense to me that I had never just applied. Like I
Right.
just thought like you got up and you just started like doing scenes. I didn't think like of the technical aspects of it. I didn't think of like the way in. I didn't think of like the emotional depth that had to go in the preparation. Any I just didn't think about anything. It was very surface level understanding of what acting was. And so it's interesting, to hear you say that like to have your answer be that like right when you kind of first stepped foot into it, you decided like I want to be professional, because then you went on to go and become a professional thereafter and continue and continue and continue and continue. And even as we're talking, like, you know 5 years from now, 10 years from now, like we're gonna be, hanging out on our fucking beachfront porch, fucking sipping pina coladas and fucking talking about, way back when. And
Oh
uh,
yeah.
but even now, like, again, the reference continues to get set because we probably did say like, yeah, we're going to be, like, we're on a podcast right now. I've created this podcast. You're talking like we are legitimately doing the things that we have dreamed about doing all of our lives. We are there. We are in it,
Yeah.
currently,
No.
actually in it. We both are are working actors. We're both working filmmakers. We're both like making our lives from this pursuit. And we had no like how we're like, yes, of course, both of us thought at some point in the beginning we're gonna kill it. I'm gonna be the next fucking Matt Damon, and you're gonna be the next Jennifer Lawrence. Like this is just what's gonna fucking happen.
Right.
And it didn't. And now we're here and we're in it, which is this thing. And like, what is that thing even? Like, right? It's just like trying to look at where you want to be and recognizing where you are and not getting down on yourself about like the level at which where you are is like not good enough or inadequate, or like you're not like as exceptional as maybe you once thought you were. Like those thoughts are constant for me. And even though I can recognize that I am like fully embracing this profession and this lifestyle that I have devoted everything to, and I have had cool successes throughout it, I still cannot, for everything in my life, like let go of this feeling of just like I'm not enough. I haven't done enough. I'm not like cool enough. I want to do more. And in fact, every time I go farther with it, I it actually like sets my bar even higher to make me feel even more inadequate.
Well,
And I
you know,
wonder like how you are able to navigate that for yourself as you kind of continue to ascend. Like when once you decided that you wanted to do this professionally, like did you have moments along the way where you thought about like giving up and quitting, and like what did those look like for you?
oh my God, every other day.
Like from the beginning, or were you just like ignorantly moving through it?
I would say the first few years, I didn't have that feeling because it really, um, I I hit the ground running, and I feel like I was getting a lot of positive feedback. I like went to class at Stella Adler. I got into like the next level that they only invited a few people, so that was an ego boost, right? And then, I was like doing all these student films and booking all these student films and got a reel together. Then I did the conservatory. I was like, I got a manager out of that. I was the only one in my conservatory to get a manager.
Mhm.
And then I like went on my first big audition. I would say like 3 or 4 years into this. So it would to me,
Everything was telling you that you were on the
yes,
right
the
track.
signs were in the road. And then as soon as I started, I guess like really like now I'm trying to make money from it, right? As
Mhm,
soon as that happened, everything stopped. It was like, you
mhm.
know, and you heard me talk about this ad nauseum, but like I've auditioned for every freaking show in New York over the past 7 or 8 years, and like
Yeah,
I booked one thing.
yeah.
Like that's real. And I remember I heard Michelle Williams like giving an interview, and like power to her. I love her so much. But she was talking about, she's like, my first 2 years auditioning, I didn't book anything for those 2 years. And it really built my character and it made me realize when I
Shut
want
the
to do this.
fuck up, Michelle Williams. I love you, but fuck yourself.
No, but I mean, like, listen, there's somebody probably listening to this who's like, I've been auditioning for 15 years and I've never booked
Yeah,
anything,
for
And they're like,
sure,
shut
for
the fuck
sure.
up, Elise.
Yeah.
So I think like that, but I always say, everything happens for a reason. And if I did have a great career, if I did book a lot as an actor, then I might have not branched into writing and directing,
For
which is
sure.
way more conducive with my personality.
Mhm.
And but I feel like also I'm coming into this new space of like once you're an actor, I think you're always an actor too. Whether
Mhm.
you're making money or auditioning or pursuing it or not, it's something that you can always it goes back to that feeling that you and I had when we first took an acting class of this like spiritual, oh, there's these things in me that I didn't know could be useful until I'm using them right now. And now it like clicked in. That's feeling is never going to go away, really.
Right.
If
Right.
you're truly an actor, like an artist in your
Yeah.
core, maybe not everyone experiences that, but I think you and I do, and the people in our circle and the people we surround ourselves know what we're talking about. So,
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I don't even know what your original question is. Oh, quitting every other day. Yeah, I mean, look, I wake up some days so grateful that I chose this path because it led me to obviously you, all my best friends, some of my best experiences over the last decade. My current partner, my boyfriend, I've had these incredible experiences with my parents who I'm really close with. Like I've brought so much joy into their life by including them into this weird little world. And making my movie, like that was I don't want to say peak success because hopefully there's something else beyond that. But at the time, like, wow, it's just not going to get any better than this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I made something with all my friends that, and they're all proud of it, and it got some awards, and we sold it, and like
Yeah.
all this stuff. So
The best case scenario.
it's the best. It was the absolute best case scenario, and like, but then other days I wake up and I feel that very specific, tangible feeling that you're talking about, which is this like, um, it's this feeling like I'm not hitting my potential. You know, like I just have this vision of what my potential is, and I feel like I'm not there. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah,
the
but
ghost of my future or
do
something.
do you think that's like it? Do you think that's because you have done certain things that you know now that they're out of the way, you're only meant to do better than now, and so anything less than that is just failure? Because that's how I kind of unfortunately look at a lot of it.
Mm.
Every time I do something, and I tell like new actors to be warned because they think like I want to like book that first role so bad. I just want to get going. I just want to start working. It's like, look, I definitely want you to do that too, and I definitely like think it's eventually going to happen. But once you do that first thing, it ends, and then you're stuck with like the reality that you just had this like super peak experience that you have worked so hard to get, and the rug is swept out from under you when it's over. You don't have it anymore. Nobody's around praising you about it. Nobody's holding you up and celebrating you because you did it. It's like it's over. Nobody cares. Nobody's talking about it. Like you can't hardly even remember what it was like anymore. And like now you're just like, and you expect that like, oh, the next thing's gonna come. The next thing's gonna come, and it doesn't. And like
Hard.
and like it doesn't happen. It doesn't
I
come,
know.
right? And
Yeah.
you're just like you have like for me, I had this expectation like okay, like once I get this, then this will happen. Like once I, get an agent, I'll start like booking work. Well, I got an agent and it took years before I even like started like even getting like proper auditions for anything. And I was like, okay. Like, once I book something in New York, then like it's gonna shoot
Oh
and I'm
yeah.
gonna fucking blow up. Then I booked something. Same thing fucking happened. Like nothing was what happened. Like
No,
I booked a show and I was like, fucking crickets everywhere. Like, what do you
I
mean?
love that story that you told when you were in the audition room and you were sitting next to Penn Bagley.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that is
Oh
so
yeah.
real, you
For
know?
sure. Yeah, I'll just tell it since you brought it up and we're talking on this thing. But like,
I love
yeah,
it.
I went to like a commercial audition many years ago. Not even many. Like just Penn Badgley has been famous for fucking 15 years, 20
Mhm.
years, and this was probably like 5 or 6 years ago. And I like sat down at this big like casting call for this commercial, and like I look to my right and it's him, and I'm just like, what the fuck?
Did you
And
say
I
something?
I had the wherewithal to be like, dude, like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, I didn't care. I'm just like, what are you doing here, dude? Like, come on, you shouldn't be here. And he looked at me and he was just like, same thing as you, bro. And on one hand, in one moment, I was like, oh, sick. Like I'm at his level. But on another level, I was like, fuck, this is what I have to look forward to. Like,
So real.
he's he's right here with me.
I
He's
know.
in the same fucking position. He's in the same place. This sucks. But it's also like real, and it is what it is.
Oh,
Like I'm
yeah.
doing the same thing that you're doing, bro. I'm auditioning for a fucking commercial because if I get it, it's gonna make me money so that I can fucking pay my mortgage. Like, yes, I make more money than you and I book more work than you, but like I also do some of the same things as you. So like just this is what it is, man. Like it
I know.
never changes. And I think like with every new thing, and I think like you made this movie and it was such a like a significant moment in your artistic life, rightfully so. And you executed it in a way that was like really impressive. And I think you even impressed yourself. And you were like, fuck yeah, man. It brings you so much self-esteem. It makes you feel so powerful. Like, wow, now I know that I'm capable of doing this. But guess what happens when it's over?
I know.
It's fucking over. And you're like, it's not like all of a sudden the phone starts ringing and just like you're getting like
Oh, totally.
agents and salespeople and fucking like foreign markets calling you, being like, "Oh my god, we can't wait to just give you $5 million for your,"
I
like
know.
nobody's calling,
I know. I
and
know.
you're stuck with like, I just did the fucking like most epic thing that in I have ever done in my entire life, and like nobody seems to give a fuck besides me. You know, like
I
my
know.
parents care, like my friends, my friends, like who I'm telling and talking about it with, and then and like, and I hope this isn't out of turn, but like I even remember you being like, I don't even really want to talk about it anymore.
I said
Talking to
that?
me. Yeah, you just because because like you get to a point, and I do it with myself, where you get to a point of just being like I put so much love and care, and you did so much with it after the fact of, and you're continuing to, but like you get to a point where you're just like, I can't keep like pushing this. And so every time people are like, "Hey, so what's going on? Hey, are you still an actor? Are you still doing that acting thing? Are you still making that movie stuff?" You just get sick of like telling people about it. You're like, "Well, I'm doing something new now, and I'm doing this thing," and you just ultimately are just like, I really just don't even want to talk about it because you're fucking exhausted. Because like ultimately, even by like talking about it and getting passionate about it, doesn't do anything. So you almost have to like conserve your energy
True.
around it and be like, okay, like how do I protect myself in this space? And I've even talked about it here, in that I have actually like unfortunately gotten to a place in my career where like now I'm approaching like acting jobs and even like new filmmaking jobs, if I get them from this place of like, I don't want to fall in love with this experience too much because I know it's going to be over, and I don't want to feel devastated by like it being done,
Oh,
because like I want to be okay when it's over.
oh,
I don't
totally.
want to be fucking crying because like nothing is happening from it.
But you know what? I think what you're saying also you can look at it in a positive way too, because what we do, and I've heard so many successful actors talk about this, and filmmakers, and just artists in general, that are so grateful for the experience that they're having in that moment, because they know that there might not be another one after that, and it
Yeah,
really just forces you to be in the moment and like absorbing it. Do you know what I mean? And
totally.
I feel like that's just how we have to approach everything. It could be the last time we get to do anything, and that's okay too. You know what I mean? We don't want it to be, but I feel like we have to, if I never make another movie in my life, I think I've gotten to a place spiritually that I'm okay with that. I mean, it's not that I'm not going to put everything into trying to get another movie off the ground, but I don't want my my movie that I made to live in the shadow of the potential of another movie. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but like, I have to push back on that and ask, like, are you like, how do you know that, how will you be okay? Like, how do you navigate being okay about that?
I don't know. I don't know, Joel. I
And
think
are you,
it's
or are you just saying it? And I'm asking you like as a friend and as like a, person who like loves you, and I'm
yeah.
pushing back like, like, is that bullshit or are you serious?
I think it's when I say okay, I mean I'll be able to live like a happy life like from here on. I really
Yeah.
genuinely think that. Okay, am I always going to try to make another one? Yes. I'm not saying like okay, I made one, done. I'm out, like enjoy. You know what I mean? I genuinely feel like I will always, I can't not, and I hear artists and you talk about this all the time. If you're really in love with this business, not business, but you're in love with this art form, you're never going to stop trying to create something. It's just
Hmm.
impossible. You know what I mean? But how I've gotten there, if that's what you're asking, I think it's just maybe from like, you know, trauma, I guess, maybe
Yeah.
from things not working out and realizing like that nothing is certain in this business. So, and quite frankly, in life, not to make it like heavy, but I think you got to always be grateful for what you have in the moment. You know what I mean? I don't know that if that's the answer you're looking for,
No,
but
I mean it's your answer, and that's it's all right. Like there's nothing like right or wrong about this. But I, I yeah, I am so kind of like curious if like because there's such a catch 22 in this whole thing of like you're okay if you don't do this again. Maybe that's the attitude you need to have to actually be able to do it, right? Because how much has the attitude of like nail biting, fucking like white knuckling through this experience like served you? I'm
Exactly.
and I'm
I
talking to
mean,
myself, and so maybe like and you, but like maybe it's like shifting gears and changing your attitude like you're saying that you're doing, which I do believe for the record, but like I'm mostly just kind of curious how you're able to like psychologically do that with yourself, because the catch 22 is like, well, if I don't put like every single ounce of my effort into this thing, am I going to succeed? Because typically when you start, all you know how to do is work hard. You don't know how to work smart. So you're just like doing as much as you possibly can in hopes that like it's going to work out. This is the reason why like I didn't travel for the first 10 years of living in New
oh
York, because I was like, if something happens, if any opportunity comes my way, I cannot bear to like live with the fact that I wasn't there to take advantage of it, because like I have devoted my life to this thing
oh
and
yeah,
I have to like sacrifice everything to ensure that it happens. And I think you get to a point, it sounds like where you're at now, which I envy because I'm not there for myself, if I'm being fully honest,
yeah.
whereby you're like, I'm actually like pulling back a little bit to like preserve some quality of life
Mm.
and like really kind of like uh give something back to me and like take like enjoy this ride outside of this other ride that like has taken me to a lot of really wonderful places. And that's not to say that you're quitting. I think a lot of it, like the misconception is that like if you slow down you're done, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, what? That's
So
just what we
Julian,
have been made to believe.
you know me, and you know that I've been white knuckling it for the last 10
I
years.
know, I know. That's why I'm fascinated by like how are you like how do you do this?
Oh,
I'm not asking like as a general question for people. I'm asking like you specifically.
I don't know. A lot of, I think,
Meditation.
yeah, meditation, but like reflecting and talking to my friends, talking to, not only you, but other filmmaker friends that are, I just think like, here's what I'll say. And this is what I've been saying to myself the last 6 months or so. I choose to be in this business for my life. Like I choose to be an artist, an actor, a filmmaker, a writer for my entire life. If I'm going to make it last that long, cuz I got a long life hopefully to live, knock on
Hmm.
wood, but if I'm going to make it last that long, how I've been white knuckling it the last 10 years, it's not going to work. It's like
And it's
I've
not
been trying to
sustainable.
run yeah, exactly. I've been running this sprint and I don't regret it because I can look back and be like, well, if I had this new attitude back then, I might not be where I am now.
Yeah.
But, it's like I think it's so funny. My acting teacher, back to that college class, that I asked him, I was like, "Can you give me any advice to be an actor?" And he gave me the most annoying advice in the world, which was find a way to make a living outside of the business. And I remember being like, "Oh, it's so annoying," like blah blah blah.
Hmm.
But quite frankly, that's my advice to young actors and filmmakers that are just, I'm like, find a job that's not a means to an end. Like don't take the job that you hate because you're like, I'm just gonna do this for like 5 years and then I'm gonna make it, blah blah blah. Like
Hmm.
put your energy into something else that's gonna sustain you, because let me tell you, the more people I talk to in this business that are quote unquote successful, they all have other ways of making a living. And I gotta say that that's an okay goal. And maybe it's not like the sexy artist, starving artist type of thing, but it's the people that, like Mike Mills, he directs commercials as a day job. He's like an Oscar nominee. He's like one of my favorite directors. My friend went in for a commercial audition with him. That's how he
Hmm.
pays his bills.
Yeah.
Or Kelly Reichardt. She makes a bunch of A24 films. She's a teacher. She's a
Yeah.
professor. There's this amazing podcast episode where she talks about she teaches 6 months and then she goes home and she makes a movie the other 6 months and she
Yeah.
works on that for for the next few years. to me, that's more sustainable than what I've been trying to do, and maybe what you're expressing to me that you've been trying to do, which is like, I just got to get to the next level. Got to get it. It's just, I don't know. It's just not working.
Yeah, I think we've just probably like all bought into this illusion that like we will like once we do this, then we'll have that. And it's
Right.
just like not necessarily true because even the people that we admire, like even the Emma Stones and the Jennifer Lawrences and the Matt Damons, they have their own levels of anxiety and stress and figuring out what the fuck they need to do next to make it all happen. Like we're all at different levels. And like you said earlier, it's just like somebody else is listening to this podcast being like, fuck you, Elise. Like, you have had an audition or you've booked
Yeah,
one thing,
totally.
you know, like, and you've been doing this for 7 years. Like, I haven't had anything and I've been doing it for twice as long as you. And like, then there's people that are above you. So it's just like, no matter where you are, people are like above and below you at any level of this thing, you know?
Yeah.
And, and yeah, I guess it's just trying to like, um, uh, kind of reinform your relationship with this illusion that we are conditioned by, because it's not that way, and it's not going to ever be that way, that we just like, oh yeah, we're gonna like book a big, like series regular role on a TV show or get some big giant movie, and then like that's gonna be the answer. Because even when you listen to your favorite actors or filmmakers or artists in general, they'll be the first to tell you like, I dare you to get there. I dare you to get as successful as you possibly can with what you're trying to do,
Oh,
and
yeah.
like and think and like recognize that that is the answer, because you're going to be poorly mistaken. And
Absolutely.
it's like the first thing that they'll tell you. It's just like, this is not the answer. It's not the answer for your fucking problems. Like, you got to look within, and I think you are currently doing like a really good job of figuring all of that out for yourself and navigating this. As much as I like disagree with some of your own fucking like silly fucking ways of just being you, that's just like our friendship. It's not like
Yeah.
necessarily in how you're navigating this industry. And I just like, I
This
admire
is new,
your
by the way, though. You
it
know what I
yeah,
mean? Like,
but for sure, but, like, this is the phase that you're in. This is, like, the
right.
space that you are now at and kind of navigating yourself through, and that doesn't mean that it doesn't have its own hardships. It's not like, "Oh, this is new, and, like, now I am totally figured out, and I've, like, unlocked the fucking answers to this whole" not at all. Like, you're just starting a whole new chapter
True.
of your, like, artistic life, and
Yeah.
it's fortunately just giving you a little bit more grace, which I think like anybody who's listening or anybody who's in this could take something from, just like, Rachel, my girlfriend, tells me all the time, like, dude, you got to learn how to give yourself a little bit more grace. You've done like really, really spectacular things with your life, and you got to be able to just like take a second to recognize that and
I do.
quit waiting around for like when the next thing is going to happen for you to feel some sense of self-worth, because it's
Totally.
like it's there, dude. Like, I wish you could see like from her, like, I wish you could see yourself the way I see you, and it's just like,
That's how I feel about you too, Jewel. You know what I mean? I mean, I said that to you on the phone the other day. Like, you have consistently been like the friend that I talk about that's a successful actor, like, believe it or not. Like, yeah, no, my friend Julian, who's like actually like a working successful actor. You know what I
just
mean?
never yeah, just yeah, and I appreciate that, and like, it's nice to hear. It's just, it would be nicer to believe,
I
it
know.
would be nicer, it would be
That's
nicer.
that's never gonna that's all internal work. You know what I mean? That's never gonna, no one's gonna hand that to you. I
For
think
sure.
that's, but I don't think you're alone in that feeling. I
I don't
mean,
either. No, I don't either. And
so many people that are like
that's the
at your
point of this.
level, beyond, higher. Like,
Totally.
you're always gonna feel that.
It's
So
the point of this. It's the point of this whole show, to try to like really expose that we're all in this together. Nobody's alone in this like tragedy of, the reality of this fucking pursuit. And it's not, and then like the tragedy is not necessarily tragedy. It's just like part and parcel. It's all part of the fucking deal.
I mean, look, yeah, I really gravitate towards interviews and actors and, filmmakers, whoever, who talk about the struggle that they went through and talk
Yeah.
about, like, there was a great podcast interview I listened to, I'm forgetting his name right now, but the director of Minari, when that movie came out, and him talking about like how he never thought he was going to make that movie, you know, or even Barry Jenkins with Moonlight. Like he made a movie and then nothing happened for 10 years. Then he made Moonlight, you know, or
Yeah.
of course, all these actors. I always go back to the interviews. Those are the ones to me that are more interesting than the like, you know, this is what I hate. I'm going to call out anyone who's listening
Mm.
to this who's either famous or going to be famous. I hate you know, I was going to give it a couple years and then I was just about to quit and then I got this call,
That
you know.
fucking makes me want to puke.
I'm talking to you, John Krasinski.
Yeah, fuck you, John
Fuck you,
Krasinski.
John
Yeah.
Krasinski.
I was like on a plane back home and
I
my
was
fucking, mom
gonna,
was like, just give it 4 fucking years.
We've
And
all
then
heard that interview.
I was on my plane and like all of a sudden I got this fucking
I got
like
The Office.
email. It was like, you got The Office. And I was like, oh, man,
I know.
visualize everybody. Just visualize your dreams. Like, I love John Krasinski, but that shit
No, I
fucking
love John
pisses me off.
Krasinski too, but it's just like, you know, I love listening to interviews of the actors that like, you know, that have had like 50 failures before this thing that got them the interview. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Well, it
talking
makes us
about
feel seen. It makes us feel like, oh, cool. They
yeah,
like us. I remember for the longest time being like, oh, cool. Like Mark Ruffalo, like was a bartender in New York for like 9 years before he like, had his first like big thing. And then like casting directors all of a sudden were just like, where have you been all of our lives? And he was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I've been right under your fucking nose this whole entire time.
I
And then
know.
I was like, oh shit. Well, now I'm 30 and I've surpassed Mark Ruffalo's fucking trajectory. And then I'm like, but wait, Morgan Freeman wasn't fucking like 50, whatever. I could look, I'm like trying to like find
Yeah,
all these
that's so
people. And
real. I literally
I know.
when I was first starting out with acting, I used to fucking Google every single actress that I would
Yeah.
see in anything
Yeah.
and look at their IMDb
Yeah.
and see
Am I on
when they
track?
made it. And I remember thinking that golden age was like 27. I was like,
Mhm.
okay, at least Jennifer Garner, she didn't make it till 27, right? And
Yeah.
that was the latest one that I could find.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, fuck this. I'm 31 now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny. It's so silly that we do that, but it's real, I still do it. Like I'll look up actors that I see on a movie that I'm watching, like while I'm watching the movie, and I'll just be like, I've never seen this person. Then I'll look at their IMDb and I'll just be like, these fucking sons of bitches have been working way more than me since fucking before me. This fucking it's like all of a sudden I'm like not even watching the movie. I'm just
Oh,
having
I
like a
know.
full
Just
blown
full
conversation
Googling,
with
like,
myself.
I
Yeah,
know.
just like this is so stupid.
But like, I don't know. I mean, don't quote me on this, maybe even cut this out, but I remember even having a thought like, and maybe this is delusional, but like, I'm glad that I didn't, have that initial dream
Yeah,
come
for sure.
true of like being Jennifer Lawrence or Emma Stone right away. I don't think I would be, there's something about the struggle that's just like, it's a bottle of fine wine. Like the age of it really adds to, I think, the gratitude for when you do have these experiences. Not to mention, I think if either one of us hit the ground running and like became, whatever, Timmy Chalamet level, then maybe we would miss out on the relationships that you gather. Because to me, my biggest thing that I'm grateful for in this business is the people that I've been
Mm-hmm.
surrounded by, yourself included, and the community I've garnered through this. And like, I don't think that you find those people if you're, on Euphoria at 22. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're not everyone just I think that's almost worse actually. Maybe
yeah. I mean, we'll never know.
getting a big break and then nothing, that to me is almost worse.
Yeah, I mean, just from my own experiences in life outside of this industry at all, it's just like every time that I have ever like blasted off into something quickly, too quickly, that I've become aware that it happened too quickly. Like I've been in situations prematurely before, and it's just like you're not prepared for that. And I certainly, if I got famous quick in the beginning of my life, I would have died. I probably would have been dead by now, like in full honesty. Like
True.
my drinking, my fucking partying, my raging, like I was fucking doing nothing and I was going fucking crazy as if I were a celebrity already. Like when you first met me, I was going fucking buck wild.
I
I
know.
would have like been around so much access to shit. It would have killed me, I think.
Definitely.
And I can say that honestly because like, I didn't have a good handle on myself. and fame would not have helped at all.
Definitely.
And even now I'm curious, like, would I even be prepared for that if it happened now? Like, what if I did get a really big thing and all of a sudden, like, all my anonymity was gone and I was famous? Like, what would that even look like?
I
Does
know.
that seem like attractive even anymore? And sure, like, yes, I want to be a movie star. Like, there's no doubt about that. Like, I want to be I want to, and I want to be in the biggest fucking movies of all time. I want to do it all. But the value in which I want to do it because of has changed. It's not because I want people to notice me. It's just because I want to do great work with wonderful people.
Right.
And typically, like, doing that is a byproduct of like the success of whatever that thing is. And but I'm still scared. It's why I've like stopped drinking, again, and like going through this whole like thing again. It's just like I struggle with this stuff so much, and it's really the impetus for this whole podcast, to like have conversations with my friends and my peers, to really kind of just see how you guys do this, because I'm genuinely curious for myself. How am I staying in this? How
Yeah.
am I continuing to move through this? Because it's not easy. And I even get to talk to people who are like really successful, and like it's not like, oh, I want to talk to people who are like not as successful. That's not what it's about. It's like we're all going through it no matter what level we're at. And also the people that are really successful went through the exact same thing that we're going through right now. And it's like it's almost like it's a prerequisite for getting anywhere you want to get to that has meaning to you. And I just feel like you are on the right track. And I've been telling you that. And, I'm like very impressed by the way that you're navigating yourself professionally. I'm also super impressed by like the work that you're putting out into the world. The writing that you do is like
Aw.
top. It's like honestly better than scripts that I've ever read. Like, I'm like, fuck, dude, this shit is really good. And I'm not like some fucking, dramaturg who's fucking reading scripts all day long or anything like that, but I definitely have read a lot, and your shit is fucking like really, really good.
Aw.
And like, despite your inability to book acting roles, like, it has nothing, it's not a testament to your ability to act, because I've sat in acting classes with you and I've been like blown away. I've been like moved by performances. I've watched you break through in like a room in like a small black box space and be like, whoa, dude, like, like actually like viscerally moved by your work as an actor. So obviously, like, the industry doesn't align with just like your talent level, and it doesn't. That's the same, consistent for everybody. Like, they're not looking for talent. They're not like,
I
sure,
know.
that's like an aspect of it, but it's so much more about everything else. And um I just think that, like, you have had so like me, like, you've had so many reasons to like throw in the towel and be like, fuck this, dude, like, I'm really just out. And you haven't, and you stuck with it, and like, you have found your lane through that hardship.
Mm-hmm.
You decided to become a filmmaker as a result of like not getting the work that you wanted to be getting as an actor. And that's rad. Like, that's a testament to your character and who you are and what you are able to do and generate in this world. And I just find that, like, it inspired me to do the same thing and to take the same course. Like, whether you know it or not, like, I have followed in your footsteps of filmmaking, because I was like, well, I'm not getting the fucking roles I want either. And like, I'm fucking frustrated too. This is bullshit. But it's like, okay, everybody tells you like, just make your own shit. Just make your own shit. You're like, yeah, fucker, easier said than done. Like, it's not just like people are like, yeah, you just like, you have cell phones now. You can make movies. Like,
I
sure,
know
dude. Like,
it's
you can, but like, if you're trying to like actually make some real good quality fucking art, it's fucking hard. And it has been hard, but certainly has become the most rewarding experience thus far in my career. And I think the
absolutely.
same can be said for you. Um, and yeah, I just want to let you know that like, you have inspired me in that regard to like stay in it and to kind of like redirect in a way where like you can take your power back. And to be somebody who's younger than me, who's like been doing this for less time than me, who like just, you know, has like just as many, if not less or more, however much resources that I have, like you have managed to carve out your path in a way that is like very admirable and really just like inspiring and cool. And I am just like forever grateful that I get to be like watching from the outside, but also just like talking to you and getting like the scoop on what's happening in your life, because it's fucking sick, man. It's
Oh,
super cool. And I'm proud of you. And
you make me cry, Jewel. Come
that's all we
on.
got for time. See you guys in hell.
No, I mean, not to make this
Yeah.
like a freaking jerk off session, but I feel the same way about you. I mean, you've always inspired me, and I've like as an actor and as a hustler and as a networker, and you just hyped me up the other day. Not hype me up, but you pushed me to do something out of my comfort zone the other day, and like really rearranged how I'm thinking about things moving forward. You know what I mean? Which is, to give context, is using our network. I have this like horrible yucky feeling of asking people for favors or asking people to look out for me for something. I never want to feel like needy or like I'm somebody who's an asker,
Yeah.
and but I'm getting the fuck over that too. I think that's what this, like, the beauty of this business is. If you are true and a good person and you nurture your relationships in this business, it's not like asking for favors, it's just hyping each other up. Because my favorite quote is, a tide rises all ships, and that's how I feel about the people in my circle. I mean, you making your own film, if you shoot up, like, it's only gonna elevate the people around you too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I really feel that. And I feel like um that's the best part of this business. You gotta also, like, I think I got to a point too that maybe I was too focused on that. I think there was a point where I was like, oh, I just want to make it so that I can lift everybody else up with me. I mean, I'm not just saying, I really felt that in my core. It's like, my goal is to be at a point in my career where I can bring everyone up. And that, you can't do that either. Like, you got to kind of take care of yourself. You got to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on the passenger next to you. So and I think we're both doing that. And I think, another person that we is in our group is Michael. Like, he's somebody that I really look up to too, for totally different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the business for as long as he's been in it,
Yeah.
since he was 17 years old. He's older than both of us. I don't want to out his age, but and the strength of mentality he's had to keep going and not get sucked up in things, book things, not book things.
Yeah.
And that's somebody too that inspires me. So that's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to inspire each other and
Yeah.
lift
I mean,
each
it
other
is,
up. But when you're
quite
famous, you got
possible.
to be in my movies so that I can just totally exploit your name and get some funding. Okay.
Well, I mean, when you're famous for making your movies, you gotta put me in them because
Yeah,
I fucking need to
or
get.
you put me in your shit,
Of
motherfucker.
course, like that's the like that's the fucking that's
Oh, I know.
that's all I want to do with my life is just like make movies and have my friends be part of them. I
Definitely.
just want to like that's like I want
That's
to
the
be like
goal.
Adam Sandler, right? Like
Yeah, or like Judd Apatow, or
yeah,
like, even like fucking Phoebe Waller-Bridge. She
yeah,
in Fleabag season 2. She must have felt really good giving such a spotlight, because she had so much heat on her. You know what I mean? I just think
mm-hmm,
that there's going to be opportunities like that moving forward, and
yeah,
hopefully those are the people that are successful. Because unfortunately, I do think that a lot of people that only look out for themselves can rise in this business. I see
mm-hmm,
it time and time and time again. But
yeah,
I think it's maybe easier and quicker that way, but it's not as fulfilling, as much as like moving up with your crew,
yeah. Yeah, I think like, just 'cause I know you got to get off and go on another meeting, but I think, in conclusion, I think being a part of a community where you can like gas each other up and like really support each other and not be like in competition with one another, and really, like you said, the tide raises all ships. It's just like that's the mentality that you should have, because if we're all working our asses off, chances are like one of us is going to hit something sooner than later, then the next one will, and next one will, and we can all just bring each other along on the ride, and like in some capacity,
Definitely.
whether that means we're like at the top of the game of this whole fucking world, or we're just doing it on our own way. We're creating our own like ecosystem for it, which I honestly might prefer more.
I know. I think so too. I mean, that's the other thing I'm kind of coming to is like there's the indie route and then there's the more of like the studio route. I mean, at least as a filmmaker. And time again, I feel like the indie route, as much as it's harder, it's more fulfilling in a way because you have more control over the art of it,
Yeah.
Anyway, that could be a whole other conversation. So.
Yeah, totally. What would you in closing, what would you say to your younger self? Do
How
you have
old?
any let's say the version of yourself that like that we've opened this conversation up with, that decided that you were gonna, like the one that took the first acting class, that decided you wanted to do this professionally?
That's a really hard question. That's a really hard
I
question because I
know
wouldn't want it.
I'm always like, what the fuck, dude?
Because I wouldn't want to say anything to her that would like mess her up or get her in her head,
Right,
like
right,
you
right.
know.
Yeah.
And you and I part of me is like, oh, I'll tell her like, don't quit, but I already don't, so I
Yeah.
already have it. And I also hate that advice, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm sure you've gotten that, like people, mentors being like, whatever you do, just don't quit, stay in it. I'm like,
Yeah.
but it's okay to
Yeah.
quit too, sometimes you
Yeah.
need to, or you quit and you
Yeah.
come back, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess the advice would be, oh my God, Julian, I really don't know. I think just try not to worry as much. Try not
Yeah.
to feel every single bump in the road. Like it's going to work out. So try to enjoy it more
Mhm.
and not stress so much. I think, which is funny because I bet you 10 years from now, I'll be telling this version of
Of
myself
course.
to do the same thing.
I mean, that's the reality of growth, As long as you can keep saying that to yourself, then you're on the right path.
Right.
I think, yeah,
Which
to
I
each their
do.
own.
I try to do that more. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna, listen to this 10 years from now and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? We are such dipshits. We
Well,
don't
I
know what the
remember
fuck we're
even
talking
like
about.
I remember doing conservatory Triber and like we had to write down where do we see ourselves in 1 year, 5 years, and 10 years. And I remember I think in like 10 years I wrote like, well, if I'm not like, booking and making a living from acting, then I'll probably just be a teacher. Like I'd already given up before I
Yeah.
even tried.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Isn't
yeah,
that
yeah,
funny?
yeah. Is
It's
that
just
crazy? It is crazy.
I know.
But you have a good head on your shoulders, and you got good people surrounding you. You got good folks and
So do you, Joel.
good
And
support
I
system.
second Rachel with trying to like really try to see yourself through how other people see you
Mm,
and
yeah,
try
yeah,
to be, I mean, being kind and gentle is like people tell me to do that too, but I think it's more just like treat yourself like a friend, like how you had just hyped me up 15 minutes ago and, made me want to cry. Like you got to give yourself those same affirmations. Even just fake it. You know what I mean? Sometimes just in the morning, just be like, I'm so proud of myself for doing this, 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 and this. And eventually it will start to sink in, you know?
yeah. I'm not great at faking it.
I know you're not. I know. You're
I'm
right.
like
You're right.
all or nothing, Like I'm either like fully. I can't. It doesn't serve
I
me.
know, but it's not fit. It's more like a wax on, wax
I
off
know.
type of thing.
I
Like,
know.
okay, I'm
Look,
gonna do this.
I came straight from therapy to you, so like
Oh,
I'm getting
Jesus.
double doses right now. So like I get it, but yeah, it's
Poor
a work in
therapist.
progress, and I'm putting in the work for sure, and this is just my extension of therapy. I'm just fucking using this for fucking my own good, baby.
Free therapy. No, me
Yeah,
too, man.
yeah.
Me too.
No,
See, but I
seriously.
also think like I think that's not going back to our. I keep freaking emphasizing community, but I remember feeling like during the pandemic, not being able to be in class and see you guys and like talk like how we talk now. It felt like, maybe this is a crude example, but it felt like not being able to be in AA. Like, how do you stay? You have to be surrounded by people that are hyping you up and telling you that you're on the right path to stay in it. Because if you're just in your own head and you're just like trying to do it alone, I think I would have quit a long time ago. I think to bring it full circle, when I do think about quitting, I would say more times than one, somebody in my community, whether it's you or Nathan or Michael or Steven, or anyone, or Maxine, they give me a reason like, no, you got this, or you're doing this, and we're going to be here. And like, when one of us is up, the other one's down. And we got to always keep that going, no matter what. Because one day, I'm going to be in Marvel and I'm going to be like, man, I don't know if I should, like, I feel like quitting. Like, they didn't give me enough money. Like, they should give me 10 million instead of 5 million. You're going to be like, shut the fuck up, Elise.
Yeah, I know.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm trying to manifest here a little bit, but
It's going to happen. It's already happening. So
exactly.
Love you.
Woo. I love you, babe.
Elise Finnerty, ladies and gentlemen. What a girl. What a gal. Powerhouse. Am I right? Yeah. I always enjoy talking to her. When you're living in New York, you don't talk to people as much as you'd like. It's like, even if you're best friends, you kind of like see or talk to each other like maybe once a month if you're lucky. Maybe that's everywhere. I don't know. I live here in New York and it's wild. The wild, wild east, my friends. But hey, guys, stick with me for just a quick second because I need to tell you a couple things about what I'm trying to do. Guys, I need you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I don't even know why, but I need you to do it, all right? It just helps. Give me some subscriptions. I have a very small amount of people that are there right now. And although this podcast is new, we're trying to build it. We're trying to do it quick. We're trying to expedite this shit. We're trying to get into the stratosphere, baby. Come on. Let's get there. I would love it if you could subscribe to the YouTube channel, Precipice of Delusion or Julian Gavilanis. Hit like if you see something on social media. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Music. Share it. Comment on stuff that you see. Engage with me. Shoot me a message. Holler. And just let me know what you think. All of your input is always welcomed and always appreciated. Even if it's negative, I am open to it and I'm ready to hear it. So hit me up and let me know how you're feeling, what's going on. If you want to come on the pod, we can talk about that too. I want to be your friend. So that's that. I also started a podcast. I started a podcast and you're listening to it. But I also started a Patreon page where you can become a member for just $1 a month. One whole dollar, guys. That's 4 quarters. That is 20 nickels, 10 dimes, and 100 pennies. That is nothing. And if you give me $1 a month, you have access to all sorts of exclusive stuff that's happening behind this paywall where you and me can do anything we want. I'm doing puppet shows now. I'm doing long, deep mental health check-in checkups with myself. I'm thinking about getting my girlfriend Rachel involved. We'll see. She has to consent to that first. But I'm going to be doing a lot of fun stuff, guys. I'm going to start getting merch as soon as I can actually make some money doing anything. And I don't have to pay out of pocket. So I'll start, incentivizing more. But for the meantime, I'm just going to be making kind of some like personal exclusive content in there and giving it to y'all that you can take part in if you're, interested in being a part of that world. The puppet shows are going to be awesome. I'm working on my voices right now. I have like 6 characters. They're actually pretty hilarious. So, jump on board, get with the program. Check out my link in bio on Instagram. I am at Julian Gavilanis. You can see all the things, the latest episodes of the podcast. You can check out my film reel. You can check out my IMDb page. You can see whatever you want. It's all there, guys. All the things that make up who I am as a professional person are there for the taking. Join my Patreon page, and you will get into the community with all of the exclusivity that we got going. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you sometime soon. Bye-bye.
Now that's what I'm talking about.